The standard read on Anakin Skywalker goes a little something like this. He started out as a troubled kid coming into the Order, he became an emotional teenager who always snapped in his anger, and all of that eventually culminating in him becoming Darth Vader. Everyone says anger did it, they always blame anger, and you'll find some version of that in nearly every single What Went Wrong video. But I've come to think that's backwards. Anger wasn't the wound, it was a bruise showing up days after the actual injury. The visible part is something that happened much earlier and much quieter. What actually undid Anakin was silence, not the Jedi Order withholding some secret truth about the dark side or a hidden council plot. I mean something much smaller and much sadder than that. I mean the point when Anakin stopped telling people how he genuinely felt, and the point where people around him just let that become normal. And here's how that happened, piece by piece, starting when he was still a kid. That's the version of the story worth actually sitting with. So let's go back to Tatooine for a second. Anakin is the type of kid to say whatever's in his head the moment he thinks it, and he does it constantly. He tells Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi he's barely even known for an hour, that he's built the fastest pod racer on the planet, and he half argues that point with him like they're old friends. He tells his mother that he loves racing even though watching it makes her sick every single time. When he meets a girl he assumes is a handmaiden traveling with the queen, he tells her completely straight-faced that he thinks she might be an angel. None of this kid managing his image or holding anything back. His whole personality runs through his mouth in real time, and everyone around him on Tatooine seems to know it and love it for him anyway. That's what makes the testing scene with the Jedi Council on Coruscant so much different when you actually sit with it. This isn't just a scene where Yoda checks Anakin's midichlorian count and moves on. Yoda goes straight for his fear, asks him directly what he's afraid of, and Anakin's answer traces back to his mother, the person he was just forced to leave on Tatooine. Yoda's response to that isn't warm and it isn't patient. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering, and based on that answer alone, the council already declines to trade him. Not because he lacks ability. Everyone in that room can see the raw power within him. It's because the thing he loves most and the thing he fears most is the person, and the Order's whole framework treats that kind of fear as a liability rather than something worth actually working through with him. So before Anakin has ever stepped foot inside the Order as a student, the very first thing it tells him about himself is that his deepest attachment is the problem. Compare that to what happens just a little while earlier back on Tatooine, when Anakin actually has to say goodbye to his mother for real. There's no council in that room, no test, no audience of Jedi Masters weighing whether his fear disqualifies him. It's just him and his mother in the desert, and he's asking her if he'll ever see her again. That's the real him, stripped of any performance, not detached, not composed. He's just a kid who loves someone so much that leaving her behind breaks him. 2 scenes back to back, and they couldn't be telling you more different things about who Anakin actually is versus what the Order thinks it's looking at. Qui-Gon dies not long after that on Naboo, and it's specifically his dying wish that Anakin gets trained, with Obi-Wan taking him for his fallen master because the Jedi Council was never fully convinced about Anakin. So from the very first day of his life as a Jedi, Anakin exists inside the Order that was making an exception for somebody, and they're just tolerating him instead of actually helping him become the best Jedi he could be. Now let's go ahead and jump forward to Attack of the Clones, and Anakin is now a young man having recurring nightmares about his mother suffering somewhere he can't even see her. Pay attention to who he actually tells about this though. It wasn't Obi-Wan who was sitting right across from him for most of the film. It wasn't the council who could authorize him to act on it properly, but he told Padme. He confessed to it on the ship, the same way he used to confess things to strangers as a kid. She's the one who ends up traveling with him back to Tatooine to check on Shmi. And when they get there, he finds her dying in a Tusken Raiders camp, tortured half to death. She dies in his arms, and what he does immediately afterward is slaughter the entire camp in a range he makes no effort to hide or control. When he gets back to Padme, he tells her everything in complete detail without flinching or softening any of it. He is still at this point in life fully capable of total honesty about the worst thing he's ever done. He just narrowed down the list of people who actually got to hear it, down to exactly only one person. By the end of that film, he marries Padme in secret, which means the single biggest decision so far in his adult life has been something the Jedi Order, which is the institution that's supposed to know everything about him, doesn't even know. By the time of Revenge of the Sith, the nightmares have shifted from his mother to Padme, and the substance of them is even worse, her dying possibly in childbirth. This time he does go to someone inside the Order for help, and he goes to Yoda, though he's careful not to say Padme's name, keeping the confession just vague enough to protect the secret underneath it. Yoda listens, and the advice he gives back is to train himself to let go of everything he fears to lose. That's the entire response. No real follow-up, no attempt to understand what's actually driving the fear, just an instruction to stop feeling the thing that he came there feeling in the first place. Around this same stretch of the film, Obi-Wan notices something clearly eating at Anakin and asks him directly if he's troubled by something. Anakin brushes the question off entirely, the same way he learned to by now. To brush off the most direct questions about what he was actually going on inside him. Padme is running her own version of the exact same pattern. She goes to Obi-Wan and tells him Anakin is in pain and she wants to help him, that she thinks she can, but she never actually tells Obi-Wan what she knows or what she's watched Anakin become capable of. Two people who love him more than anyone else in the galaxy going to two people best positioned to actually intervene, and both of them leaving out specific details that might have changed everything when it comes to Anakin turning to the dark side. Which is exactly what makes Palpatine's opening so easy for him to walk through. He isn't scheming his way past Anakin's defenses so much as he's simply the only person in the room who responds to Anakin's fear with an invitation instead of a lecture. He always tells Anakin to tell him more, and that's the whole seduction right there. The doorway that leads straight into the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise and the promise of power over death itself. And this ends in Anakin turning the dark side. He walks into the Jedi Temple and murders all the younglings inside of it. He duels Obi-Wan on Mustafar and loses everything that was left of him in that fight. And what survives gets sealed into a suit that filters every single word he says from that point forward through a mechanical voice that isn't fully his own. 20 years of near total silence about what's actually happening inside of him. The mask didn't invent that silence, it just gave a permanent visible shape to it. You see, anger didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, silence did. The Jedi Order never gave him the shot he needed to actually express his feelings in a way that could help him become a greater man and a greater Jedi.